We just want our daughter back.
Call and say where she is. We just don't care. We want her back. Our family is aching. Our family's aching.
In January 2006, a surveillance camera captured someone parking Jennifer Kesse's car 1 mile from her home. We have the footage. Investigators studied every frame. They sent it to NASA. They ran it through every image enhancement technology available for 20 years. And they still cannot tell you who that person is. This is the only image anyone has ever captured of the person who may have taken her. And still, this is still all we have. Her name was Jennifer Kesse. She was 24. She had just bought her first home. This is not only the story of a woman who disappeared, it is the story of what happened after. The Orlando Police Department worked this case for 16 years. They ran tips, they interviewed workers, they processed her car. They had fingerprints, they had DNA, and they had something else, something we will get to, that sat in storage for nearly 20 years. While Jennifer's family spent everything they had trying to find out what happened to their daughter. In 2018, the Kesse family did something no family in American history had done before. They took the Orlando Police Department to court. They sued for the right to see their own daughter's case file. They won. When they opened the box, what they found inside was not what they expected. Before we get there is one number you need to hold. When investigators told the Kesse family about the unidentified fingerprints in Jennifer's car, they gave them a number. 3. The family wrote it down. They lived with it for 13 years. Then they got the files. The files contained approximately 100. No one has ever explained the difference. Hold that number. Jennifer Joyce Kesse graduated from the University of Central Florida in 2003 with a finance degree. Shortly after, she did something her family said was entirely in character. She bought her own condominium. Not inherited, not shared, hers. She had just been promoted to finance manager at Westgate Resorts in Ocoee. She had a boyfriend, Rob Allen, in Fort Lauderdale, 3 hours south. They saw each other every weekend. They had been together about a year. By every account, Jennifer Kesse was happy. The week before she disappeared, she had been in St. Croix with Rob. She came back on a Sunday. She drove directly from his place in Fort Lauderdale to work the next morning. She hadn't been back to her condo in over a week. Her brother and his friends had been staying there while she was gone. One of those friends had left his cell phone behind. Jennifer had promised to mail it in the morning. Tuesday morning, January 24th. That phone sat on the counter inside her condo for days after she disappeared. She never got to mail it. Her father, Drew Kesse, would say later that if Jennifer went more than 2 hours without reaching out to someone she loved, he would know something was wrong. He had no reason to worry, not until Tuesday. Here is what the evidence tells us about that morning. Jennifer showered. Her work clothes were missing from the condo, the kind of absence that means she put them on, not that she packed them. She locked the door behind her. When her family arrived that afternoon, the condo was exactly as she had left it. Nothing disturbed, no forced entry, no struggle inside. Just a wet towel. She made it out the door. Whatever happened, it happened outside. The night before, around 10 o'clock, Jennifer had called her boyfriend from inside the condo. The two of them argued. The content of that argument has never been made public. What Rob Allen said later was that he still expected to hear from her the next morning. That was their routine. She always called before work. At 7:30, he tried to reach her. Voicemail. At 10:30, a co-worker, a family friend, called Drew Kesse. Jennifer hadn't shown up, couldn't be reached. Drew recognized it immediately. He made the 2-hour drive north. The condo was undisturbed. Her car was gone. And at approximately noon that same day, while her father was still on that highway, a surveillance camera at the Huntington on the Green Complex on Americana Boulevard captured what you saw at the beginning of this video. Someone parking Jennifer's car 1.1 miles from her front door. That person walked away from the camera and was never identified. Here is the thing about that parking lot that nobody talks about. Her car was gone, but her keys were never found. On January 26th, a woman called OPD. She had nearly backed into Jennifer's car at that complex after seeing it on the news. Investigators confirmed it. First break in the case. The same day, Orange County Sheriff's Office deployed Sergeant Jeff Brown and his bloodhound Bo. Brown had worked with Bo for 4 years. Bo picked up a scent from Jennifer's car. He led the team along Americana Boulevard. He paused near the Publix. He continued toward John Young Parkway. And then he came back to the retention pond, directly behind Jennifer's building, where they had started. Sergeant Brown offered one possible explanation. Bo may have been tracking a person inside a vehicle rather than on foot, which would mean the person who drove the car 1 mile away may have gotten a ride back here, to this pond. He did not say this was certain. The 2 original detectives assigned to Jennifer's case retired shortly after. Before they left, they wrote no reports, not a summary, not a log, not a record of the first 48 hours of one of the most significant missing person investigations in the state of Florida. Nothing. They were called back later to reconstruct what they remembered. From memory, OPD acknowledged the gap. That was the beginning. We need to stop here, because what we are about to show you is something the Kesse family did not know existed until 2019, 13 years after Jennifer disappeared. When they found it, they said it changed everything they thought they understood about what happened to their daughter. We are getting there. But first, the building. At the time Jennifer disappeared, the Mosaic at Millenia was mid-conversion. Apartments becoming condominiums. Multiple contractors were working the building. Many, according to the available record, were undocumented workers. Identities difficult to establish. Presence difficult to account for. Jennifer had complained to her parents about the workers. She told them some of them made her feel uncomfortable. She had just bought her first home, and the building she bought it in was full of people she didn't know. People walking the hallways and the parking lot where she lived. She told her parents this. Then she went back to her life. 2 workers became relevant. The first, a man known in case records as Chino. His real name is known to investigators. It has not been released. The second, his work partner, Ben. Both had been inside Jennifer's condominium the week before she disappeared. Both confirmed to have had direct contact with her. In the first week of the investigation, OPD received a tip, detailed. It named Chino, described where he lived, who he lived with, what he looked like. The tip was logged. It sat in the system for months. Detective Joel Wright, assigned as lead investigator 6 to 7 months after the disappearance, found it while searching the database, months after it had been received. The question is not whether investigators eventually found that tip. The question is, what might have been different if they had found it first? Both Chino and Ben were eventually re-interviewed. A housekeeper at the Mosaic complex believed she recognized someone in the surveillance footage. She revised her identification to Chino after a closer review. That triggered the formal re-interviews. Both men took polygraphs. Both reportedly passed. Detective Wright's position. He did not say cleared. He said polygraphs are not 100% reliable. He said some people can pass them regardless. He said the construction workers were the most logical lead pool given the evidence. He did not say they were guilty. He did not say they were innocent. He said The footage is the most significant counterweight. Then he looked at the footage again. Detective Wright worked this case for years. He retired. He still thinks about it, every single day. He still reads arrest stories and checks whether the suspect's age fits. He said something that has not appeared in any prior coverage of this case. He said, "I believe there were people in that parking lot who saw what happened, and I believe some of them know exactly who the person in that footage is." Wright's theory of January 24th rests on evidence, not hypothesis. He believes Jennifer made it to her car. He believes she was in the car when it was driven away. He believes she was struggling to take it back from someone else. He references unnamed witnesses, people whose statements support this theory, and who have never been publicly identified. Those statements have never been released. Those witnesses have never been named. They exist somewhere in 16,000 pages of files, or existed once, and beyond that, they are sealed. In 2010, after years of asking questions they could not get answered, the Kesse family pushed for OPD to transfer the case. OPD sent it to the FBI. The FBI held it for a year. In 2011, they returned it. No arrests, no public report, no explanation. The case came back the way it left, except a year older. And then, according to the family's attorney, who later reviewed every one of those 16,000 pages, something happened that is almost impossible to account for. From approximately 2012 onward, there is almost nothing in the files. No meaningful reports, no navigable documentation, no record of what was being pursued or why. A case officially listed as active, a full-time detective officially assigned to it, for roughly 10 years. The attorney said he could not be certain that a law enforcement officer reviewing those files would know what they had, or what they didn't. On the 12th anniversary of Jennifer's disappearance, the Kesse family stood in front of cameras and confronted OPD publicly. They asked about the detectives who wrote nothing down. They asked about the years of apparent inactivity. They asked about the files. That same year, they filed a lawsuit, not a complaint, a lawsuit, for access to their own daughter's case file. Their attorney later described this as the first time in American history that a family successfully obtained an active, open missing persons case file through litigation. They sold his home. They spent what they had. They built a fundraiser to cover the legal costs. They won. OPD turned over 16,000 pages. The family's attorney described the files as disorganized, unsatisfactory, a pile of paper that does not function as a roadmap. And then, inside those pages, the family found something. The family had been told there were 3 unidentified fingerprints in Jennifer's car. The files contained approximately 100. I have been doing this for a long time. I have seen cases where things were missed. I have seen cases where things were lost. I have never seen a case where a family was told a number, and the number was wrong by 97. That was 2019. The family had been asking about those fingerprints since 2006. The photographs told the same story. The family received 2 photographs of Jennifer's car. The files contained 154. Among those 152 unseen images was a photograph of the car's hood. The family and their private investigative team, 13 former law enforcement officers assembled by Drew Kesse, believe it shows evidence of a struggle. The family had never seen it. For 13 years, that photograph existed in a building, in a file, in a department issuing official statements about its commitment to finding their daughter. What we are about to tell you is worse than the fingerprints, worse than the photographs. It is the thing that was associated with those files and never made it into them at all. But first, one more detail from the workers. In his pre-polygraph interview, Ben was asked about the time he spent working in Jennifer's condominium. He referred to it as the time before she passed away. Jennifer Kesse was not confirmed dead. She was a missing person. When pressed, Ben said he had assumed she died because she had been gone so long. Detective Wright challenged him on it. He ultimately accepted the explanation. He described it as notable. He moved on. A word that belongs to certainty, in a sentence about a woman who had not yet been declared anything except missing. We are not telling you what that means. We are telling you that Wright noticed it. The workers section of this case has no clean ending. That is the truth of it. Before we get to what investigators found in 2025, there is still one thing in that footage that 20 years of review has never answered. Every theory about what happened to Jennifer ends at the same image. 3 theories have been seriously pursued. The first, targeted. Someone with knowledge of the complex, its layout, its contractors, its access points, who watched Jennifer's patterns and waited. The renovation environment created the opportunity. The figure in the footage appears to be wearing work clothing. The second, incidental. Someone whose presence at Mosaic that morning was not planned, but whose path intersected Jennifer's in a way that became something else. This theory requires a coincidence of timing. It has never been able to explain. The third, personal. Investigative convention required it be addressed. Wright assessed Rob Allen, 3 hours away in Fort Lauderdale, and reached a careful conclusion. Allen does not resemble the figure in the footage. Wright would not clear anyone absolutely, because certainty in an open case is something only the truth can provide. But the footage is the most significant counterweight. Evidence collected from Jennifer Kesse's case contained DNA. This evidence was never submitted for testing. Not in 2006, not in 2010, when the FBI held it for a year, not in 2011, when the FBI returned it. Not across the decade when a full-time detective was officially assigned, and the files show almost nothing was being done. Nobody tested it. It sat in storage. It was found in 2025 by FDLE, reviewing what OPD had been holding. The family was not told it existed. FDLE Senior Crime Lab analyst Tim Tree explained what this means. Testing evidence that has never been processed yields a better chance of a usable result than retesting evidence already analysed. The technology has advanced. In 2006, investigators worked with 19 genetic markers. Today, 26. Old samples, never touched, can now produce results that were not possible when they were first collected. The evidence is viable. The analysis is ongoing. Someone collected this evidence in 2006. They labelled it. They stored it. And somewhere in the years that followed, through 2 detectives who wrote nothing down, through an FBI review that produced nothing, through a decade of official activity that produced almost nothing, it waited. The family sued. They read every page. They found the fingerprints. They found the photographs. They kept going. And the whole time, the evidence was in storage. She had a package to mail. She never got to mail it. And this is why. Look at that walk. Look at the fence line. Count the frames. At every angle, at every moment the camera might have had a clear shot, the face is behind the fence. Detective Wright asked 20 years ago what you are asking right now. Was that coincidence? Or did someone walk exactly where they needed to walk? No one has ever answered that. And it is one of the reasons a new team in 2025 went back to the beginning. In November 2022, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement formally took over Jennifer's case from OPD. Drew Kesse called it the most hopeful development since Jennifer disappeared. He wrote that FDLE would essentially start from the beginning. In May 2025, FDLE announced DNA leads had been identified. The persons of interest list had been narrowed. An AI analysis company had been engaged to work through the full 16,000-page case file. Fox News confirmed the case was no longer considered cold. In July 2025, FDLE announced they had found DNA on evidence that had never been tested. Never tested. Not previously inconclusive. Not resubmitted. Never tested. That phrase, when a new team says it about a case the old team held for 20 years, says everything the files could not. Active interviews are ongoing. Evidence reanalysis is ongoing. In October 2025, Drew and Joyce Kesse posted an update. They had met with FDLE special agents. The persons of interest list had been narrowed to a few individuals. The agents described as being worked heavily. When FDLE Special Agent Spears was asked directly whether investigators had narrowed their persons of interest, he said, "I would say yes." He would not say how many. He would not say who. The case is not cold. For the first time since January 24, 2006, the case is accelerating. There are things this documentary cannot tell you. We want to be exact about what they are. Who is the person behind the fence? 3 separate law enforcement agencies could not reach consensus on the figure's height. 20 years of technology, including NASA's image enhancement capabilities, has produced no name. 20 years, no name. Whose DNA is on the evidence that was never tested? The analysis is ongoing. The results are not public. Whether the DNA will match anyone on FDLE's narrowed list, whether that list includes someone who has already been interviewed, is not known. Who are the witnesses Detective Wright referenced? The people with solid statements about Jennifer struggling in the car? Their names are not in the public record. Their statements have never been released. The loop exists. It does not close. The Orlando Police Department has never publicly explained the 97 fingerprint gap, the 152 unseen photographs, the decade without reports. The DNA-bearing evidence that sat through every review, every reassignment, every anniversary press conference, and every official statement about commitment to the case until a new team finally opened the storage and looked. OPD has not addressed these things. Drew Kesse has said, more than once, that there are 6 or 7 people who need to come forward and have a conversation, that he knows some of them, that they know who they are. He has not said more than this, because there are things you cannot say while an investigation is active. But somewhere out there, those people have heard him say it. This is what we know. This is what we don't. Someone asked Drew Kesse, who is in charge of finding his daughter. He didn't hesitate. Joyce and I. There is no police department that has Jennifer's case. He sold his home. He spent everything he had. He assembled the team, filed the lawsuit, read the pages, funded the investigators, made the calls, drove to Orlando, drove home, and got up the next morning and made the calls again. He believes Jennifer is no longer alive. He says he doesn't know how to reconcile the possibility that they may never know where she is. He says the family is aching. He is still doing everything he can. Jennifer Kesse was 24 years old. She had a package to mail in the morning. She never got to mail it. Her case is open. FDLE is actively investigating. The DNA is being analysed. The persons of interest list has been narrowed to a few individuals who are being worked heavily. This case is not over. If you have information, anything at all, about the Mosaic at Millenia complex in January 2006, anything about the person in the surveillance footage, anything. The tip line for Jennifer's case is available through the FDLE website and the Find Jennifer Kesse Facebook page which her family maintains. Drew Kesse has said,
we've spent everything that we've had. We've pretty much lost everything that we've had. And I don't know if it's by choice, but we're okay with it because we know what we need to do. I personally don't think Jen is with us any longer.
Okay.
I just need to know, that we have our daughter, period. It's all good. Not really, but, yeah, you have to take what it is. I am a firm believer that no one in America should ever pass away and have their loved ones still missing.
Jennifer is our daughter. We just want an answer.
you do not have to be certain about what you know. You just have to make the call. When there are developments in this case, and there may be, this channel will cover them. The way to know when that happens is to follow. Share this video. Not for us. Because somewhere in everyone who watches this, someone knows something. Someone was in that parking lot in January 2006. Someone knows the person behind that fence. Someone is one of the 6 or 7 people Drew Kesse is waiting to hear from. The only way to reach them is through someone watching right now. Jennifer Kesse was 24 years old. She had a package to mail. She was happy. Her case is open.